All right, to our first conversation now. See, Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, presents a lucrative opportunity for investors in the tea market. With a growing population, increasing demand for specialty teas, and a thriving middle class, the Nigerian tea market is ripe for expansion. But despite being a significant consumer of tea, Nigeria relies heavily on imports, creating a gap for local production and processing. Well, let's explore opportunities, challenges, and potential returns on investments in Nigeria's tea market. Joining me for this conversation, we have Dr. Teju Bolujoko, the chairman, Master Tea, joining me right here in the studio. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so looking at what Sir Will Stevens said there, definitely Nigeria trades with America, but we're not taking full advantage of that, you know, AGOA trade pact, because at the end of the day, it's more of oil that keeps flowing, you know, through that trade pact. But other commodities, you know, that we're blessed with are not, you know, getting the attention when it comes to export. So talk to me about where we are, you know, right now in AGOA, and what you think we should be doing right now to take full advantage of that trade pact.
Well, thank you very much for having me. AGOA is an opportunity for Nigeria, which Nigeria has not actually used. If we have been talking about tea, Nigeria produces about 1,600 tons of tea, compared with Kenya that produces about 440.
That's massive, 443,000
yes.
tons.
There is no reason why Nigeria cannot produce as much as Kenya does, because we have the facility, we have the land, we have the air, we have the sun, we have the water, we have everything. But the real challenge actually is for that if you look at Nigerian tea, if you look at Mambila, you find out that the tea in Mambila is very low in caffeine, just like our tea in Master Tea. It's very low in caffeine, because that is the way in which the cultivars were chosen. And we have the best tea in the world, but we are not taking advantage of that.
Because I'm wondering, you know, last time I was in Kenya, when I got back from Kenya, the first thing I was asked is, oh, did you bring me Kenyan tea? And I'm like, what is Kenya doing that we're not doing? What comparative advantage do they have, you know, over us in production of tea? We also see the likes of Malawi, 31,000 tons. That's what they exported. Zimbabwe exporting about 11,000. We're just working with production about 1,600 tons. Yes. So what can we do, you know, at this time to actually tap into this market?
We need to look at the policies. Policies drives business. Government does not have business in doing business, but they have to have the policies that will drive business. The policies, if you look at, for example, the issue of logistics, you have spoken about AGOA. If you are sending product from Nigeria, it's about 4 times the cost of sending the same product from Kenya, from Ghana, our neighbor here. And these costs are inherent costs that we are going to the same market. We are selling in the same market. And as such, it is very important for interactions of policies of government with SMEs and the cost of things to be looked into again to ensure that Nigeria is comparable with other countries. I mentioned also the fact that we have as a company, we were in quite a number of exhibitions in Europe. And there are Kenya teas that are on the same exhibition with us. They're all certified. They have all the certification that Europe wants. And if we in Nigeria are going to be certified like that, the cost of it is so high. And we were asking our neighbors, why is it, how do you get this certification? Oh, they say that certification is the least of the things we will have. Because government has put in place a system that enables certification to take place at a low cost. And these are all the things that we need to look into. Another thing that is very important for SMEs is the issue of background checks. If you go to Europe, somebody that has messed up in one company going to another company, they will say, okay, if you want to even rent a house, they say, where's your permit? You go and check from government how he has behaved in the last place where he worked. And these are all things that are very important if we are going to rise up to the challenges that we have. I want to say another thing. Another thing is the fact that we have been talking about Africa Trade Union. In South Africa, and this played to us, the shops were told that, look, you have to have about 70% or 75% of products made in South Africa. Hotels were told. But here in Nigeria, we have an open policy that does not allow for SMEs to thrive.
So is it time for us to start exploring protectionism at this point? Full on?
Full on, yes. There is no country in the world that does not protect its own people, its own businesses. If you look at the trade relations between America and China, it's all about what exactly how do I protect my own? And we ought to be looking at how the SME can be protected, because we have the challenges that we have. We have the issues that we have. But then if government says, well, we know we have signed this and we are just leaving you to the world, it doesn't really help.
Right, and we're at a time where we're also trying to battle sky-high inflation, and we've seen the central bank having to raise rates multiple times. We've seen rates get higher than 20%, at this point. And definitely, if you're going for the real rates, you're talking over 30%, when you go to the banks. So talk to me about cost of credit. What's your experience when it comes to getting credit, to fund your business?
Well, actually, we are an SME. There is no way, current rate from the Federal Central Bank is 27.25. By the time it gets to the local banks, it goes higher. We don't do a business that can be able to pay.
So I'm sure you're not even looking to the banks.
No, we are not. We are not. We can't. Because we don't do a business that will pay us 40% and all that. That's not the sort of business we are in. And as such, if you cannot have that sort of returns, then you don't go to the banks. And then the other issue is the fact that who are the people that are getting this money at 35% interest rates? If I'm exporting, if I'm importing, I bring it in, I sell it immediately, and within a short time, I have the money to pay back. And so that is what our banks are doing. Our banks are not looking at SMEs. They are not supporting SMEs the way they should support. If they want to support SMEs, how will they support it? Are they going to come to the SME and say, well, we are going to give you at a very, very low rate? No, because they get their money, the way they get their money, they have to, And
it's quite interesting, when you look at the results from most of the banks, we're seeing bumper results at this point coming from, Nigerian banks, and no pun intended, really, but I'm sure there's some, entrepreneurs, watching right now, some investors on the sideline. I'm trying to imagine what opportunities lie in this tea market, at this point. What would you say are those interesting points some investors can pile money into in this market?
I would say that production is one area that we must invite investors and have policies that will help investors to be able to promote. If we are not encouraging local investors, there is no way external investors will come. Local investors must be encouraged. Our farmers must be encouraged. The people that want to have the resources to be able to invest must be encouraged. Encouraged in the sense that we have spoken about logistics, and there must be a relationship that we are understanding between, take for example, the cost of diesel and fuel, and the cost of transport, and the cost of production, and the cost of materials. There is a connection, and we must always look at whatever government policies we have, how are they affecting this area of development? We need to, agriculture is one thing that indeed we need to put a lot of emphasis and effort on. But the question is, what are the issues today with agriculture, large-scale agriculture? We have the issue of security and all that and all that. So those are all issues that government must sit down and see how they interlink and relate with all the areas that we want. We want investors to come in, let the local investors be happy. Then investors will come in. So
make local investors happy before you go out there and get the foreign investors departing more. Thank you so much. It was great having you, Dr. Teju Bolujoko, is the chairman, Master T. Thank you for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, another interesting conversation. How are your bank apps working? We'll find out in a moment. Do stay with us.